Brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. FIFA World Cup. The FIFA World Cup, often simply called the World Cup, is an international association football competition contested by the senior men's national teams of the members of the sport's global governing body. The championship has been awarded every 4 years since the inaugural tournament in 1930. Except in 1942 and 1946 when it was not held because of the Second World War. The current champion is Germany, which won its fourth title at the 2014 tournament in Brazil. The current format of the competition involves a qualification phase, which currently takes place over the preceding 3 years, to determine which teams qualify for the tournament phase, which is often called the World Cup Finals. 32 teams, including the automatically qualifying host nation, compete in the tournament phase for the title at venues within the host nation over a period of about a month. The 20 World Cup tournaments have been won by 8 different national teams. Brazil have won 5 times, and they are the only team to have played in every tournament. The other World Cup winners are Germany and Italy, with 4 titles each. Argentina, and inaugural winner Uruguay, with 2 titles each, and England, France and Spain, with 1 title each. The World Cup is the most prestigious association football tournament in the world, as well as the most widely viewed and followed sporting event in the world, exceeding even the Olympic Games. The cumulative audience of all matches of the 2006 FIFA World Cup was estimated to be 26.29 billion, with an estimated 715.1 million people watching the final match, a ninth of the entire population of the planet. Previous international competitions. The world's first international football match was a challenge match played in Glasgow in 1872, between Scotland and England, which ended in a 0-0 draw. The first international tournament, the inaugural edition of the British Home Championship, took place in 1884. As football grew in popularity in other parts of the world at the turn of the 20th century, it was held as a demonstration sport with no medals awarded at the 1900 and 1904 Summer Olympics, and at the 1906 Intercalated Games. After FIFA was founded in 1904, it tried to arrange an international football tournament between nations outside the Olympic framework in Switzerland in 1906. These were very early days for international football, and the official history of FIFA describes the competition as having been a failure. At the 1908 Summer Olympics in London, football became an official competition. Planned by the Football Association, England's football governing body, the event was for amateur players only and was regarded suspiciously as a show rather than a competition. Great Britain won their gold medals. They repeated the feat in 1912 in Stockholm, with the Olympic event continuing to be contested only between amateur teams. Sir Thomas Lipton organised the Sir Thomas Lipton Trophy tournament in Turin in 1909. The Lipton tournament was a championship between individual clubs from different nations, each one of which represented an entire nation. The competition is sometimes described as the first World Cup, and featured the most prestigious professional club sides from Italy, Germany and Switzerland. But the FA of England refused to be associated with the competition and declined the offer to send a professional team. Lipton invited West Auckland, an amateur side from County Durham, to represent England instead. West Auckland won the tournament and returned in 1911 to successfully defend their title. In 1914, FIFA agreed to recognise the Olympic tournament as a World Football Championship for amateurs, and took responsibility for managing the event. This paved the way for the world's first intercontinental football competition. At the 1920 Summer Olympics, contested by Egypt and 13 European teams, and won by Belgium, Uruguay won the next two Olympic football tournaments in 1924 and 1928. Those were also the first two Open World Championships, as 1924 was the start of FIFA's professional era. World Cups before World War II. Due to the success of the Olympic football tournaments, FIFA, with President Jules Rimet as the driving force, again started looking at staging its own international tournament outside of the Olympics. On the 28th of May 1928, the FIFA Congress in Amsterdam decided to stage a World Championship itself, with Uruguay now two-time official football world champions, and to celebrate their centenary of independence in 1930, FIFA named Uruguay as the host country of the inaugural World Cup tournament. The national associations of selected nations were invited to send a team, but the choice of Uruguay as a venue for the competition meant a long and costly trip across the Atlantic Ocean for European sides. Indeed, no European country pledged to send a team until 2 months before the start of the competition. Rimet eventually persuaded teams from Belgium, France, Romania, and Yugoslavia to make the trip. In total, 13 nations took part, 7 from South America, 4 from Europe and 2 from North America. The first two World Cup matches took place simultaneously on 13 July 1930, and were won by France and the USA, who defeated Mexico 4-1 and Belgium 3-0 respectively. The first goal in World Cup history was scored by Lucien Laurent of France. In the final, Uruguay defeated Argentina 4-2 in front of a crowd of 93,000 people in Montevideo, and in doing so became the first nation to win the World Cup. After the creation of the World Cup, the 1932 Summer Olympics, held in Los Angeles, did not plan to include football as part of the schedule due to the low popularity of the sport in the United States. As American football had been growing in popularity, FIFA and the IOC also disagreed over the status of amateur players, and so football was dropped from the games. Olympic football returned at the 1936 Summer Olympics, but was now overshadowed by the more prestigious World Cup. The issues facing the early World Cup tournaments were the difficulties of intercontinental travel and war. Few South American teams were willing to travel to Europe for the 1934 and 1938 tournaments, with Brazil the only South American team to compete in both the 1942 and 1946 competitions, which Nazi Germany and Brazil sought to host, were cancelled due to World War II and its aftermath. World Cups after World War II. The 1950 World Cup, held in Brazil, was the first to include British participants. British teams withdrew from FIFA in 1920, partly out of unwillingness to play against the countries they had been at war with, and partly as a protest against foreign influence on football, but rejoined in 1946 following FIFA's invitation. The tournament also saw the return of 1930 champions Uruguay, who had boycotted the previous two World Cups. Uruguay won the tournament again after defeating the host nation Brazil, in the match called Maracanazo. In the tournaments between 1934 and 1978, 16 teams competed in each tournament, except in 1938. when Austria was absorbed into Germany after qualifying, leaving the tournament with 15 teams. And in 1950, when India, Scotland, and Turkey withdrew, leaving the tournament with 13 teams. Most of the participating nations were from Europe and South America, with a small minority from North America, Africa, Asia, and Oceania. These teams were usually defeated easily by the European and South American teams. Until 1982, the only teams from outside Europe and South America to advance out of the first round were USA, semi-finalists in 1930, Cuba, quarter-finalists in 1938, North Korea, quarter-finalists in 1966, and Mexico, quarter-finalists in 1970. Expansion to 48 teams. In October 2013, Sepp Blatter spoke of guaranteeing the Caribbean Football Union's region a position in the World Cup. In the 25th of October 2013 edition of the FIFA Weekly, Blatter wrote that, "From a purely sporting perspective, I would like to see globalization finally taken seriously, and the African and Asian national associations accorded the status they deserve at the FIFA World Cup. It cannot be that the European and South American confederations lay claim to the majority of the berths at the World Cup." Those two remarks suggested to commentators that Blatter could be putting himself forward for re-election to the FIFA presidency. Following the magazine's publication, Blatter's would-be opponent for the FIFA presidency, UEFA President Michel Platini, responded that he intended to extend the World Cup to 40 national associations, increasing the number of participants by 8. Platini said that he would allocate an additional berth to UEFA, 2 to Asia Football Confederation and Confederation of African Football, 2 shared between CONCACAF and CONMEBOL, and a guaranteed place for the Oceania Football Confederation. Platini was clear about why he wanted to expand the World Cup. He said, "The World Cup is not based on the quality of the teams, because you don't have the best 32 at the World Cup, but it's a good compromise. It's a political matter, so why not have more Africans? The competition is to bring all the people of all the world. If you don't give the possibility to participate, they don't improve." In October 2016, FIFA President Gianni Infantino stated his support for a 48-team World Cup in 2026. On the 10th of January 2017, FIFA confirmed the 2026 World Cup will have 48 finalist teams. 2015 FIFA corruption case. By May 2015, the Games were under a particularly dark cloud because of the 2015 FIFA corruption case, allegations and criminal charges of bribery, fraud, and money laundering to corrupt the issuing of media and marketing rights for FIFA games, with FIFA officials accused of taking bribes totaling more than $150 million over 24 years. In late May, the U.S. Justice Department announced a 47-count indictment with charges of racketeering, wire fraud and money laundering conspiracy against 14 people. Arrests of over a dozen FIFA officials were made since that time, particularly on May 29 and December 3. By the end of May 2015, a total of 9 FIFA officials and 5 executives of sports and broadcasting markets had already been charged on corruption. At the time, FIFA President Sepp Blatter announced he would relinquish his position in February 2016. On the 4th of June 2015, Chuck Blazer, while cooperating with the FBI and the Swiss authorities, admitted that he and the other members of FIFA's then executive committee were bribed in order to promote the 1998 and 2010 World Cups. On 10 June 2015, Swiss authorities seized computer data from the offices of Sepp Blatter. The same day, FIFA postponed the bidding process for the 2026 FIFA World Cup in light of the allegations surrounding bribery in the awarding of the 2018 and 2022 tournaments. Then Secretary-General Jerome Valcke stated, "Due to the situation, I think it's nonsense to start any bidding process for the time being." On 28 October 2015, Blatter and FIFA VP Michel Platini, a potential candidate for presidency, were suspended for 90 days. Both maintained their innocence in statements made to the news media. On 3 December 2015, two FIFA vice presidents were arrested on suspicion of bribery in the same Zurich hotel where 7 FIFA officials had been arrested in May. An additional 16 indictments by the U.S. Department of Justice were announced on the same day. Other FIFA tournaments. An equivalent tournament for women's football, the FIFA Women's World Cup, was first held in 1991 in China. The women's tournament is smaller in scale and profile than the men's, but is growing. The number of entrants for the 2007 tournament was 120, more than double that of 1991. Football has been included in every Summer Olympic Games except 1896 and 1932. Unlike many other sports, the men's football tournament at the Olympics is not a top-level tournament, and since 1992, an under-23 tournament, with each team allowed 3 over-age players. Women's football made its Olympic debut in 1996, and is contested between full national sides with no age restrictions. The FIFA Confederations Cup is a tournament held 1 year before the World Cup at the World Cup host nation as a dress rehearsal for the upcoming World Cup. It is contested by the winners of each of the 6 FIFA Confederation Championships, along with the FIFA World Cup champion and the host country. FIFA also organizes international tournaments for youth football, club football, and football variants such as futsal and beach soccer. The latter 3 do not have a women's version, although a FIFA Women's Club World Cup is planned for 2017, when the U20 Women's World Cup is held the year before the Women's World Cup. Both tournaments are awarded in a single bidding process. The U20 tournament serves as a dress rehearsal for the larger competition. The same role as the Confederations Cup plays in the men's game. Trophy. From 1930 to 1970, the Jules Rimet Trophy was awarded to the World Cup winning team. It was originally simply known as the World Cup Coupe du Monde, but in 1946 it was renamed after the FIFA president Jules Rimet, who set up the first tournament. In 1970, Brazil's third victory in the tournament entitled them to keep the trophy permanently. However, the trophy was stolen in 1983 and has never been recovered, apparently melted down by the thieves. After 1970, a new trophy, known as the FIFA World Cup Trophy, was designed. The experts of FIFA, coming from 7 countries, evaluated the 53 presented models, finally opting for the work of the Italian designer Silvio Gazzaniga. The new trophy is high, made of solid 18-karat gold and weighs. The base contains 2 layers of semi-precious malachite, while the bottom side of the trophy bears the engraved year and name of each FIFA World Cup winner since 1974. The description of the trophy by Gazzaniga was, "The lines spring out from the base, rising in spirals, stretching out to receive the world. From the remarkable dynamic tensions of the compact body of the sculpture rise the figures of 2 athletes at the stirring moment of victory. This new trophy is not awarded to the winning nation permanently. World Cup winners retain the trophy only until the post-match celebration is finished. They are awarded a gold-plated replica rather than the solid gold original immediately afterwards. Currently, all members of the top 3 teams receive medals, with an insignia of the World Cup trophy, winners, runners-up, and third place. In the 2002 edition, fourth-place medals were awarded to host South Korea. Before the 1978 tournament, medals were only awarded to the 11 players on the pitch. At the end of the final and the third-place match, in November 2007, FIFA announced that all members of World Cup winning squads between 1930 and 1974 were to be retroactively awarded winners' medals. Qualification. Since the Second World Cup in 1934, qualifying tournaments have been held to thin the field. For the final tournament, they are held within the 6 FIFA continental zones, overseen by the respective confederations. For each tournament, FIFA decides the number of places awarded to each of the continental zones beforehand, generally based on the relative strength of the confederations' teams. The qualification process can start as early as almost 3 years before the final tournament, and last over a 2-year period. The formats of the qualification tournaments differ between confederations. Usually, 1 or 2 places are awarded to winners of intercontinental playoffs. For example, the winner of the Oceanian zone and the 5th-placed team from the Asian zone entered a playoff for a spot in the 2010 World Cup. From the 1938 World Cup onwards, host nations receive automatic qualification to the final tournament. This right was also granted to the defending champions between 1938 and 2002, but was withdrawn from the 2006 FIFA World Cup onward, requiring the champions to qualify. Brazil, winners in 2002, were the first defending champions to play qualifying matches. Final tournament. The current final tournament has been used since 1998 and features 32 national teams competing over the course of a month in the host nation. There are 2 stages, the group stage followed by the knockout stage. In the group stage, teams compete within 8 groups of 4 teams each. 8 teams are seeded, including the hosts, with the other seeded teams selected using a formula based on the FIFA World Rankings and/or performances in recent World Cups, and drawn to separate groups. The other teams are assigned to different pots, usually based on geographical criteria, and teams in each pot are drawn at random to the 8 groups. Since 1998, constraints have been applied to the draw to ensure that no group contains more than 2 European teams or more than 1 team from any other confederation. Each group plays a round-robin tournament, in which each team is scheduled for 3 matches against other teams in the same group. This means that a total of 6 matches are played within a group. The last round of matches of each group is scheduled at the same time. To preserve fairness among all 4 teams, the top 2 teams from each group advance to the knockout stage. Points are used to rank the teams within a group. Since 1994, 3 points have been awarded for a win, 1 for a draw and none for a loss. If one considers all possible outcomes for all 6 matches in a group, there are 729 different outcome combinations possible. However, a certain number of these combinations lead to ties between the 2nd and 3rd places. In such case, the ranking among these teams is determined as follows. The knockout stage is a single elimination tournament in which teams play each other in one-off matches, with extra time and penalty shootouts used to decide the winner if necessary. It begins with the round of 16 in which the winner of each group plays against the runner-up of another group. This is followed by the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, the third-place match, and the final. On the 10th of January 2017, FIFA approved a new format, the 48-team World Cup, which consists of 16 groups of 3 teams each, with 2 teams qualifying from each group to form a round of 32 knockout stage, to be implemented by 2026. Selection process. Early World Cups were given to countries at meetings of FIFA's Congress. The locations were controversial, because South America and Europe were by far the 2 centers of strength in football, and travel between them required 3 weeks by boat. The decision to hold the first World Cup in Uruguay, for example, led to only 4 European nations competing. The next 2 World Cups were both held in Europe. The decision to hold the second of these in France was disputed, as the South American countries understood that the location would alternate between the 2 continents. Both Argentina and Uruguay thus boycotted the 1938 FIFA World Cup. Since the 1958 FIFA World Cup, to avoid future boycotts or controversy, FIFA began a pattern of alternating the hosts between the Americas and Europe, which continued until the 1998 FIFA World Cup. The 2002 FIFA World Cup, hosted jointly by South Korea and Japan, was the first one held in Asia, and the only tournament with multiple hosts. South Africa became the first African nation to host the World Cup in 2010. The 2014 FIFA World Cup is hosted by Brazil, the first held in South America since Argentina 1978, and is the first occasion where consecutive World Cups are held outside Europe. The host country is now chosen in a vote by FIFA's Council. This is done under an exhaustive ballot system. The National Football Association of a country desiring to host the event receives a hosting agreement from FIFA, which explains the steps and requirements that are expected from a strong bid. The bidding association also receives a form, the submission of which represents the official confirmation of the candidacy. After this, a FIFA-designated group of inspectors visit the country to identify that the country meets the requirements needed to host the event, and a report on the country is produced. The decision on who will host the World Cup is usually made 6 or 7 years in advance of the tournament. However, there have been occasions where the hosts of multiple future tournaments were announced at the same time, as was the case for the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, which were awarded to Russia and Qatar respectively. For the 2010 and 2014 World Cups, the final tournament is rotated between confederations, allowing only countries from the chosen confederation to bid to host the tournament. The rotation policy was introduced after the controversy surrounding Germany's victory over South Africa in the vote to host the 2006 tournament. However, the policy of continental rotation will not continue beyond 2014, so any country, except those belonging to confederations that hosted the 2 preceding tournaments, can apply as hosts for World Cups starting from 2018. This is partly to avoid a similar scenario to the bidding process for the 2014 tournament, where Brazil was the only official bidder. Performances. 6 of the 8 champions have won one of their titles while playing in their own homeland, the exceptions being Brazil, who finished as runners-up after losing the deciding match on home soil in 1950, and lost their semi-final against Germany in 2014, and Spain, which reached the second round on home soil in 1982. England and France won their only titles while playing as host nations. Uruguay, Italy, and Argentina won their first titles as host nations, but have gone on to win again, while Germany won their second title on home soil. Other nations have also been successful when hosting the tournament. Switzerland, Sweden, Chile, South Korea, and Mexico all have their best results when serving as hosts. So far, South Africa has been the only host nation to fail to advance beyond the first round. Attendance. QF quarterfinals. Group did not advance beyond first round. Solna borders Stockholm, Pasadena borders Los Angeles, and St. Denis is a suburb of Paris. The best attended single match, shown in the last two columns, has been the final in only about half of the 20 World Cup series so far. Another match, or matches, drew more attendance than the final in 1930, 1938, 1958, 1962, 1970, 1982, 1990, and 2006. Broadcasting and promotion. The World Cup was first televised in 1954 and is now the most widely viewed and followed sporting event in the world. The cumulative audience of all matches of the 2006 World Cup is estimated to be 26.29 billion. 715.1 million individuals watched the final match of this tournament. The 2006 World Cup draw, which decided the distribution of teams into groups, was watched by 300 million viewers. The World Cup attracts many sponsors such as Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Adidas. For these companies and many more, being a sponsor strongly impacts their global brands. Host countries typically experience a multi-million-dollar revenue increase from the month-long event. It is predicted that Brazil will bring in more than $11 billion in revenue for the 2014 World Cup. Each FIFA World Cup, since 1966, has its own mascot or logo. World Cup Willie, the mascot for the 1966 competition, was the first World Cup mascot. Recent World Cups have also featured official match balls specially designed for each World Cup. The World Cup even has a statistically significant effect on birth rates, the male-female sex ratio of newborns, and heart attacks in nations whose national teams are competing. Hosting the World Cup, or a home team's win, tends to increase male births and total birth rate, and heart attacks are more common when home teams are on the field. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.